Most people think the ability to be alone is a weakness. They see someone sitting quietly by themselves and immediately assume something must be wrong. Maybe they're lonely. Maybe they're socially disconnected. Maybe they just don't know how to fit in. But honestly, what if some of the most emotionally intelligent people you will ever meet are the ones who quietly choose solitude on purpose? Not because they hate people, not because they're broken, but because their mind learned something the world never teaches. I remember sitting in my car one night after turning down another invitation to go out, music off, phone silent, just staring through the windshield while the parking lot lights reflected across the glass, and for a second, I actually felt guilty. Like maybe I was wasting my life by not constantly surrounding myself with noise, conversations, distractions, movement. But then something hit me hard. The quiet didn't feel empty. It felt safe, clear, honest. And maybe that feeling means more than most people realize, because some minds do not grow stronger in crowds. Some minds become sharper in silence. If this kind of deep psychology speaks to you, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more videos that help you understand yourself on a level most people never reach. Because in this video, we're going to uncover 6 signs that your relationship with solitude may actually reveal a rare kind of emotional and psychological strength. And maybe that is the first sign your mind operates differently from most people around you. Sign number 1, you think through problems alone before asking anyone else. Most people feel uncomfortable the moment uncertainty appears. They immediately text someone, call someone, ask for opinions just to escape the pressure of not knowing what to do. But your instinct is different. You sit with the problem first, quietly, sometimes for hours. I remember staring at my ceiling late one night, replaying a decision over and over in my head, while everyone around me kept saying, "Just ask people what they think." But something inside me needed to understand my own answer before hearing anyone else's. And honestly, people rarely realize how psychologically rare that is. Because sitting alone with confusion is difficult. It forces you to confront uncertainty without emotional support. But over time, something powerful starts forming inside people who do this regularly. They stop blindly depending on outside validation. They begin trusting their own mind, and that changes the way a person moves through life forever. And after learning to sit alone with your thoughts, something even deeper slowly begins happening inside you. Sign number 2, you process emotions alone, quietly, seriously. And this is very different from emotionally shutting down. Some people go silent because they are avoiding pain, but others go silent because they are finally allowing themselves to feel it honestly. I remember sitting alone one night after a conversation that left me emotionally drained. No music, no scrolling, no distractions. Just replaying certain words in my head and asking myself something painfully simple. Why did that hurt me so deeply? And honestly, most people never stay in that moment long enough to find the real answer. They escape it immediately. But when you sit with emotions instead of running from them, your mind starts developing a rare kind of emotional awareness. You stop saying, "I feel bad," and begin understanding the exact shape of what you feel. Disappointment, rejection, grief, emotional exhaustion. And that level of self-awareness quietly changes your relationships, your decisions, and eventually your entire inner world. And once a person becomes emotionally honest with themselves, another pattern quietly begins to appear. Sign number 3, you develop private rituals that nobody knows about. Maybe it is taking the exact same walk every evening after a stressful day. Maybe it is sitting in complete silence before everyone else wakes up. Maybe it is a playlist you only listen to when you need to reconnect with yourself emotionally. And the strange part is, nobody told you to create these habits. You built them naturally because something inside you needed peace more than stimulation. I remember realizing one day that some of the calmest moments of my life were the ones nobody else ever saw. Just me driving at night with no destination, thinking quietly while the world kept rushing around me. And honestly, people who need constant noise rarely understand this. Solitude stops feeling empty when your inner world becomes strong enough to keep you company. If this feels deeply familiar to you, comment number 7 below. Because some of the deepest people alive are the ones who learned how to emotionally survive without constantly escaping themselves. And maybe that growing comfort with yourself eventually leads to something even rarer. Sign number 4. You make important decisions without needing everyone else to approve them first. That does not mean you ignore advice. You listen, you gather perspectives, but at the end of the day, you still need one quiet moment alone before making the final choice. I remember sitting alone after being offered an opportunity that looked perfect on paper. Everyone around me kept saying I would be crazy to turn it down. And for a while, I almost convinced myself they were right. But deep down, something felt wrong. So instead of forcing an answer, I went silent for a night. No opinions, no outside noise. Just me confronting what I truly wanted. And honestly, that ability changes your entire life. Because most people are not making decisions. They are managing approval. They confuse other people's comfort with their own truth. But psychologically strong people learn something different. Other people's opinions can become information, but they never become your identity. And that level of inner independence is far rarer than most people realize. And after enough time learning to trust your own mind, something surprising begins to happen. Sign number 5, you genuinely enjoy your own company, not in a sad way. Not because nobody else is around, but because being alone finally starts feeling peaceful instead of painful. I remember going to a coffee shop alone once and noticing how uncomfortable some people looked sitting by themselves, constantly checking their phone, looking around nervously, needing noise to fill every empty second. And meanwhile, I was just sitting there quietly, completely relaxed, watching the rain hit the windows while my mind slowly wandered through random thoughts. And honestly, that moment stayed with me. Because there is a huge difference between loneliness and self-companionship. One feels like emotional absence. The other feels like emotional freedom. People who reach that level usually spent years building a relationship with themselves that nobody else can see from the outside. If being alone sometimes feels more peaceful than being surrounded by the wrong people, comment number 7 below. Because that quiet comfort says more about your inner world than most people will ever understand. And maybe after learning how to enjoy your own company, the final sign begins revealing itself quietly over time. Sign number 6. You reflect on your own behavior even when nobody asks you to. This is probably the rarest trait of all, because most people only look inward after something falls apart, after an argument, after losing someone, after consequences force them to change. But you think about yourself before that point ever arrives. I remember lying awake one night, replaying a conversation in my head. Not because anyone blamed me, but because something inside me genuinely wanted to understand why I reacted the way I did. Was I defensive? Why did that comment affect me so much? What was I actually feeling in that moment? And honestly, people who ask themselves uncomfortable questions like this develop a completely different relationship with themselves over time. They stop living on autopilot. They become more aware, more emotionally mature, more honest internally. Because real self-awareness is not built through perfection. It is built through quiet self-reflection when nobody else is watching. And maybe after hearing all 6 of these signs together, you are finally starting to realize something important about yourself. The ability to be alone without falling apart is not emotional weakness. It is emotional strength most people never fully develop. Because the truth is, the world constantly trains people to escape themselves. More noise, more scrolling, more distraction, more validation. Anything to avoid sitting quietly with their own thoughts for too long. But somewhere along the way, you learned how to stay. You learned how to think deeply without needing a crowd. How to process emotions without turning every wound into a performance. How to build a relationship with your own mind that still stays with you when everyone else leaves the room. I remember reaching a point in my life where silence stopped feeling uncomfortable for the first time. And honestly, that changed me more than any external success ever did. Because when you are finally able to sit alone and still feel whole, something inside you becomes unshakable. So if this video made you feel understood in a way most people never have, make sure to subscribe to the channel and support the next deep psychology videos. Because some of the strongest people alive are not loud at all. They are simply people who learned how to truly know themselves when nobody else was watching. All the voices and images in my videos are created with AI, but the editing process is completely done by me. I personally match every image with the voiceover, arrange every scene, and turn everything into a complete video. No AI or machine can replace that part. Making videos takes a lot of time and effort, so if you enjoy the content, please support the channel with a like and subscribe.